This video tutorial is going to show you how to do the magic loop technique. Now, magic loop is used when you need to do small circumference circular knitting, but you don't want to have to use double pointed needles, say at the top of a hat or for sleeves, or there are lots of different applications. So what you would do is cast on the number of stitches that your pattern calls for, and then slide those stitches to the cable portion of the needle. Now, for this technique, you're going to need a longish cable, at least 32 inches, maybe 40 inches. It depends on your project. Now you're going to find the midpoint of your stitches. I've got 16 stitches on here, so I'm going to count 8 across. And then at that midpoint, you're going to pinch the cable and then pull the cable up between those stitches and slide the stitches down to the tips of the needle. Now this is like any other circular knitting in that when you begin the round and join, you don't want to have any kind of twist or rotation on the needle. So I like to line the cast on stitches up facing each other. To me, they look like kind of little Day of the Dead teeth. And so that's what you want to do to just verify that you don't have any kind of twist down here. Now when you begin a round or a half round in magic loop knitting, you want to make sure that your needle tips are pointing to the right, which they are. The other thing is that you want to have the live end coming off of the top or back needle. Now we see in this that that's not the case, that this is coming off of the bottom needle. So all you have to do in that case is just flip, and now it's on the top needle or the back needle. The longer that you knit, the more this is going to become your back needle. But whichever way is sensible to you, if you think back or top, whichever one works, that's the one where you want your live end coming. So now you're going to look and see that's the needle tip that you're going to pull. So this needle is going to become your working needle. So I'm just going to pull that needle through, and I'm going to leave a loop at this other end. Now if you're knitting as your first stitch, you're going to want to dip the tip of that needle underneath or behind those strands to go into your first stitch. If you don't do that, you're going to be pulling the strands up through the loop, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just annoying. So if you're starting with a knit stitch, come behind. If you're starting with a purl stitch, don't, because you'll need your yarn to be forward. So we're going to come into the first stitch. I'm going to find my live end here because I still have kind of a longish tail. And I'm going to knit my first stitch. Now a lot of times you'll have a bit of a ladder, as you see here. Go into your second stitch and then just snug that up just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it, just snug it a little, and then go ahead and knit to the end of the stitches on this side of the cable. Now when you get to the end, you're going to have your needle tips will be pointing to the left. You'll have one needle pointing to the left, and then the other one is kind of a long dangler. Now, because we start every round or half round with our needle tips pointing right, we're just going to rotate the work around to the right. Now, when I teach this to my students, this is the part where I get really, I don't want to say dogmatic, but this is the most important part here. So we call this, in class, we call this blood or death. So here's the deal. If someone is bleeding or not breathing, you have permission not to do this. But unless that's the case, you don't get to answer the phone. You don't, if the dog throws up on the carpet or something, you got to wait. You got to push this dangling needle back, okay? And we lovingly call this, in my classes, we call this blood or death. So make sure that you push the dangling needle back. I'm getting stuck on the join here. Push those stitches back up on the needle. Your needle tips are now pointing to the right. Your live end is coming from the first stitch on the back needle. That's the needle tip you're going to pull to become your working needle. Dip behind the strand, come into the first stitch, knit that first stitch, go into the second stitch, gently snug that up, and then just knit to the end. And we will have completed one complete round. Now, one way to tell where you are in the process of this is If you get to the end of the round and your live end and your tail end are at the same place, you're at the beginning of the round. If they're at opposite ends, you're only halfway around. Now, we've gotten to the end of a round. My needle tip's pointing to the left, so I have to rotate it around to the right, do our blood or death, push that guy back. The joins on this are a little tight. Okay. So there I am again. My needle tips are pointing to the right. The live end is coming from the first stitch on the back needle. That's the one I'm going to pull. Dip behind. Come into the first stitch. And I'm just going to continue in this way. Snug up that first stitch after you go into your second stitch. And the reason for that is if you try to snug it up on your first stitch, by the time you go into your second stitch, it will have let go again. So you have to just go into that second stitch and keep the tension on it. I'm to the end of the round, rotate that needle tip to the right, push the dangling needle back, blood or death. Look to see that the live end is attached to the first stitch on the back needle. Pull that out, dip behind and go into your first stitch. And then you'll just knit to the end. And you really will get a rhythm with this. You'll get to where you see what you're doing, which is always good. Now, let's talk about why blood or death is so important. If I do, I'm to the end of this round, I'm going to turn my work around and rotate my needles to the right, but I'm not going to push the dangling stitch back. So say I just take this time to admire my work and go, man, that's looking so good. Okay, so then I say, okay, I'm ready to start my round. Well, here's my working needle and here's my live yarn, so I think I'll just start knitting. But if you do that, you're going to start knitting into your work backwards. And you're going to be, you'll get purl bumps on the outside of your work and you're going to be going the wrong direction. So that's why it's important. It's just easy to get off. If you're unsure of where you are, just always make sure that you begin every round or half round with your needle tips, with the stitches all the way up on both ends of the needle tips. And then pull out the needle that has the live end attached to it, and you will be good to go. I hope this has been helpful.